Patna mission began, they sent 5 fathers over here who didn't know their left hand from their right. How were they going to start a mission in India? They knew nothing. What the society did, they sent us a pro. He said, I believe that in time, Patna can become a great mission. But as things stand now, it is not going well. And it will not go well until certain things are done and understood. First, send young men. What type of men to send? Send people who are optimistic, who are ready to do the unrewarding work of preparing the field so that others may come who will sow and reap.
It's like putting a foundation for any building. Perhaps they are the people who set the trend. Those Jesuits who came early and they slogged for our country, and we owe to them so much. And till today they become our motivation, actually, our inspiration. And their footsteps we are walking on. So definitely their foundation was so strong and so good. Now what we are today is because of the foundation that is laid. When the foundation is good, the building is strong. They are part of us. They continue to live within us.
No relative of the mayor of Chicago, though I'm from Chicago.
Grew up in a small town in central Ohio, Marion, Ohio, between Columbus and Toledo.
Patna was the mission of our Chicago province at that time. This was the place everyone was going.
There was one father who had been in India for 20-some years, Paul Dent. You know, we were in Indiana. He used to cut off the NA, West Baden Springs, India, you know. And every day at 3 o'clock, he used to play the Indian national anthem. But he, at the drop of a hat, he would teach you Hindi. So I started to study Hindi. Somehow I was thinking of coming to India. I wanted to be a missionary.
I joined the Jesuits just before 18, so I wouldn't be drafted. And in 1945, and in 1949, I was sent to India, and I've been living here ever since.
The question was, do I go to the army or do I go to the Jesuits? I joined the Jesuits 4 days after the armistice in Japan.
I went into the Air Corps and had not quite 4 years there. Came back. I met Father Clancy down at an airfield in Brazil. And he told me all about the Jesuits and everything. And that's how I got to know the Jesuits.
So I was ready to go to India, and there at the docks, Dock 32 in New York, for me it was, here we come, big adventure. Since it was a one-way trip to my parents, my sister and my brother-in-law, it was goodbye forever. My parents gave up more than I gave up and we gave up.
When I joined the novitiate, she asked me, my mother would never, never hammer me if I wanted to do something. But she could ask me a favor. So she asked me a favor. And I can't, those things I couldn't, you put it that way, it's a whole different ballgame, no? So she asked me if I would write her a letter once a week. Not something you like to do, and we're not, but I said, okay. I said, okay. So I wrote her every week. And when I was coming to India, she said, I hope you'll keep writing. So I wrote my mother and father every week for 50 years.
I thought I was going to Peru. That was harder for my mother, I think, than my going to Peru, because my father's, the company he worked for, had sent him a couple times to South America. Then when I was asked to come to India, she said, can't you change that? But okay. Finally she accepted it. This is what I wanted, so this is what she gave.
We came all the way by ship. The Suez Canal was open at that time.
Jets weren't, they hadn't invented the jet plane yet, so we came by ship from New York to Le Havre. We crossed the Channel and visited Oxford. Luxury liner? Luxury liner. Nothing like, only missionaries and rich people did those things.
On that journey was an old veteran missionary from Germany. And so I got talking to him one day, and I said, Father, as a young missionary, what shall I remember? And he hesitated a bit, and he said, well, just remember, you're expecting one thing, and everything's going to be upside down. Just remember that. And so I set my mind to be learning, to be open to whatever was going to come upside down.
We went to Paris and Lourdes, landed in Bombay.
And then from Bombay all over to Patna. We were dirty as hell, I remember that, Judas, yeah, all the way over to Patna.
People chew pan, which is a betel leaf, but I don't know that we don't have it in the States at all. And often they will just spit it, the stuff to the side, and it's bright red. And my first impression was, what have I gotten myself into? Everyone here has something like bleeding TB, and here I am now. The brother who had come to meet me was telling me, don't worry, don't worry. He saw this look on my face.
To quote Father Arupe, I saw people, people, and more people. One story, Leo Sullivan, who was provincial.
Who sent us? Who sent me? Leo sent.
He came to Patna. He was from Chicago, Detroit. So he said that the food is all right, but don't go back and see where it comes from.
Nick Pollard, who was a Canadian Jesuit or a farmer, he could eat anything. He was huge. He used to eat the stuff, right out of the field. He didn't mind that old dirt. And he had a cook.
This is a fabulous character. We're talking about a wonderful heart. He loved the people.
So he had a cook who was an orphan boy. David was an orphan boy who could put together a good breakfast. After that, you're on your own. If you could stomach it, okay. So he couldn't stomach it. So he advised me, look, if you can't take it, the sisters will send you a meal. Huh? So I said, okay, we'll give it a try. So I went on for some time, and then I said, I'm not going to survive this. So I said, sister, could you send me some? Yes, Father, no problem. In Bombay, the day I arrived, I got a piece of advice which lasted me the rest of my life. We went, as I say, we were getting ready for supper, and I was washing my hands and getting ready for supper. And this Indian came walking in, as if he owned the place. It's to say hello, huh? He said, look, I'll give you one tip. When you go down there, you're going to have the impression that nobody likes you, nobody wants to talk to you. People will avoid you. So you'll think they don't want to know you. And you will be wrong. He said, those Indians down there, from South India, little guys just out of their villages, these big Americans come here. How do we talk to these big Americans? People, sometimes you'll see a foreigner and they'll want to talk, but they don't know how to go about it. They'll sit there stony-faced, but they're just dying to meet you. Huh? Yeah.
That's your big idea when you go over there, you're going to go over there and change these people right away. That's bullshit, I mean, God.
I ended up with amoebic dysentery as soon as I landed.
I got a heat stroke, most of that can be cured, but it kept recurring.
The heat is the beginning, you begin just dripping wet and everything,
Change your T-shirt every 3 hours when you were teaching even. The British sun helmet you had to have that out.
I remember one story, John Kenealy and I were at a fork in where the water used to come down, but it was dry. It was like a little creek and everything. And I saw Jack on the other side. I said, I'll meet you up here. So we had where we met together. We left, and then down here we met together. And he's just staring. I said, what the hell is he staring at, And it was a big, huge king cobra. So, of course, I pulled it down and everything, got a stick, held down its head and everything. That was the first time I had picked up a cobra. Next day, we had class with Father Klein. He says, two big Americans running from a snake. Yeah.
Some of them get sick. Some of them get sick. Some of them really never learn the language. They don't feel at home, because we had nothing. Patna was that's another thing. There was nothing. No schools, no education. It was nothing. No money either.
Poverty was to the maximum, and I think there were no roads, no electricity, no modernization, no techniques of the modern times. They might have really, really struggled very hard coming from the States to this land which had deprivations of all sorts of things. And we used to get the stories how they used to go on foot, on cycles, on horsebacks as that mode of travel.
It was a place of challenge for me. I was surprised at the hospitality of the people. I mean, they were interested. I'm a native born in Chicago, and everyone is busy with their own thing, and you're on your way to do something and so forth. But in India, in Patna, people were there, as it were, waiting for you.
The year after I came to India, my mother and father came here to visit me, and they saw that things were not as bad as they expected, that they were very much relieved.
We were in Patna just a few days, then we went to a place called Gomo, where we began 1 year of Hindi study.
Then we had Father Gallagher. Father Gallagher had a tongue, and he was always ta. We learned mostly from the kids. You'd go out and talk with them. You learn more with them because, they they were kids, and, they had a big kick out of the way we would talk.
I never was good at languages, but Hindi I picked up right away.
I took this step as a part of my oblation. I'm giving myself to this country. I'm giving myself to this people. And I want to stay here and live here and die here.
Biggest compliment I ever received was when I had to buy a pair of sandals. I went to the last shop, he brought it out. I said, what's the price? It was 85 rupees. I simply laughed. I said, I'll go barefoot before I pay 85 rupees for this. So I walked away. His friend was sitting in the shop, and I was walking away, I heard him. His friend says, he's a Bihari. He's a Bihari. So he came after me. People were standing around, something happened. And he said, you look like a foreigner, but you're not. He said, no foreigners speak, you speak exactly as we speak. In the way you wear this thing. He said, no. Looked at my feet. He said, were you this color when you were born? He thought I was albino or something like that. Huh? Couldn't have paid me a higher compliment about the language. He just couldn't believe I was a foreigner.
It didn't take us long to see the layers of Indian society. And at the bottom of the layers, the bottom of the pyramid, you might say, was the outcast, the ex-untouchables, because with the coming of independence in 1945, there was no untouchability legally possible at that time. Our men at once got into the scheduled tribe, scheduled caste layer of society, which are the poorest of the poor, and as I say, the outcast of caste society. I was supposed to be the student counselor, interviewing boys one-on-one through most of the day, and I was teaching them religion. And things were going along pretty well. And then I discovered in one of the nearby parishes a missionary who had exquisite ars sacra paintings of the Old Testament and New Testament, 75. I had the boys put down what they liked in the picture, what does the picture say to them, and then give it an attractive title, and you can win a prize. The outcast picked, lo and behold, Job on the dung heap, with his friends pointing at him, and he's covered with ashes. They had interiorized or introjected the outcastism that they lived in every day.
Because of the institutions run by the Jesuits, a tremendous impact has been made on the country level and on other lower level. Our Jesuits have been wonderful for education. All the big cities have got St. Xavier's.
This school served as a light for the whole of our northern country. Students from Rajasthan, from Kashmir, from Darjeeling, from Nepal, all of them came to St. Xavier's to study. And the result of their being here are the schools that were subsequently established.
India has achieved freedom only through education and will achieve further freedom through and through education only. All the prestigious institutions in and around Patna were run by Jesuits.
Other, if we go to other cities like Mumbai and other cities, they don't know about Don Bosco and other schools. But if we say that we belong to St. Xavier's High School, then they can easily recognize us.
We are working to make human being who can work for the society, who can work for others. Motto is not only to give oral values here, rather to give moral values.
They have found meaning in life. So in a way, American missionaries, their greater contribution is that they went to the lowest of the lowest and they brought them up and they gave them dignity as human being to come along the mainstream. That is the biggest contribution what they have given through running schools, through education.
Over the period of 25 years, I must have taught several thousand students.
I went to the industrial school. I was teaching them all about machinery and everything. In the meantime, I was working on the machines.
It was not for the high elite English boys, but for the Indian boys. It was a Cambridge system being taught there, and that was much, much appreciated in Patna, that these Jesuits are making available to us the best of education that is abroad. They would take a Cambridge exam at the end of their studies, if they passed that, they would be able to go to Cambridge University.
One time, the county inspector of schools was at St. Xavier High School. He was talking to the students. Boys, do the American priests make you become Christians? No. One of the teachers went by and he said, "Sir, here at St. Xavier's, we have elective subjects. You can choose calculus, advanced chemistry, advanced English classes, and also we have studies of the Bible, and many of the students choose to have Bible study as an elective because perhaps it might be easier than studying advanced placement calculus."
Now, because of modernization, education, wealth, globalization, scene is changing.
Today we have doctors and professors from the Christian community.
One thing is definitely there that the Patna Jesuits brought in a lot of dollars. Many institutions, one after the other. Square development everywhere, whether it is a hospital, dispensary, or a school buildings, or a lot of physical development and progress, which mostly took place late 50s and 60s. And they had a definite plan to, strengthen the community both spiritually and economically. This center is started for the training of the unorganized youth. Groundwork is done, and we are beginning the program from this year. You see, unemployment is one of the basic problems in India, and this gives an instant, short-term courses and immediately placement. So especially the rural youth, those who don't study longer, they would like to have a job immediately, and this is short-term. So mostly the rural youth will gain out of it, and I think this will run well. So about 200 of them every 3 months will be getting jobs. We started our thrust for the poor and marginalized. So our focus in most of the social action centers are the poor and the marginalized, the oppressed. Preferential option for the oppressed.
We were putting up Holy Family Hospital, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 stories, the roof. We had barriers around everything. I was making paddles out of wood, so these girls would slam this brick bat into real fine powder dust, One of the girls with a tokri on her head, like a big bowl on her head, would carry whatever it was carrying, mud or whatever, brick bat, and they'd dump it and everything. She walked right through that damn barrier, and fell 4 floors. So everybody says, "Oh my God." So we all run down on the floor, on the bottom of the basement there and everything, and there she's walking. We wondered, "Oh my God, what happened?" But when we all started making fuss over her, she fainted. But nothing was broken. The nuns couldn't believe it. Well, it was something, we thought a miracle or whatever, but the poor girl, phew. I used to go over there and give a lot of blood. And I always get a peppermint patty. The nuns would give me a peppermint patty. I used to go over for that. I said, well, how's the peppermint patties going? Trouble is, you get so damn close to those nuns, you begin to wonder, what the hell am I doing here, you know?
The Holy Family Hospital is a huge affair, and Jesuits have got tremendous impact and their role to play there, which was not possible earlier. In fact, several years back, the Holy Family Administration had asked the Jesuits to help out in the hospital administration. People are very happy for the generosity of the fathers. You know, when you go to the very poor people, okay, you can console them by talking, by being with them and so on. But when they have nothing to eat, when they are sick and no one is there to help them, when they are oppressed by others and no agency cares for them, you come and help and tell them that someone cares for you, that you are not left to yourself, and that God does not leave you. We are there. That's a tremendous act of evangelization.
"14 years back, Father Matthew thought of we had to do something for the environment. So we have a lot of sun here in India, almost 10 months in a year. We have very good sun. He thought in that way to use the natural resources for our energy. So this workshop is running purely on solar. This is a unique ministry. I don't think anyone is having such a type of ministry in India or all over India.
Patna Jesuits, American Jesuits are the first one to hand over the leadership to the Indian Jesuits. Jerry Drinan was my first director in the candidate house. He was my first guru, first teacher, remained a teacher to me even today. I have great respect for him in terms of an American Jesuit who cared, who looked after, who really concerned, accompanied us, journeyed along with us, and encouraged us and pushed us to be what we are today.
Jesuit order in India has become mostly Indian Jesuit order. There are a handful of our Americans who are here and they will continue to work till they die. But then a new growth has taken place.
It's fun working over here with the Jesuits. I think they are very understanding. Whatever, we suggest or whatever we want, any kind of change, they listen to us and they try to help us out in each and every field which can be possible by them.
We are continuing, or to be more frank, surviving on what those American Jesuits established here, the heritage that they left behind. And that heritage continues to propel St. Xavier's even now as a place of quality education.
To be a missionary today in India is what it was to be a missionary in the times of St. Francis Xavier. Loved the people.
I have really enjoyed life. And I tell people this, I think that, Jesus has enabled me to live a life of such richness.
As Father McNaspy of the New England province said, when he was asked why he went to South America, he said, "I went to disappear." In other words, he wanted others to take over what he started. He didn't want to remain there. And in a way, that's what I felt also. I wanted to have that feeling that others were going to take over the work and I was going to disappear, which I have more or less done.
As time goes on, life is not as simple as it was before. Just take here, now the things we have in the area. Everything is grown. And as you see, for example, our buildings. Then you say, look at the buildings, you wouldn't need help. But we're still in the stage of building the church.
Best decision I ever made was to come to volunteer for the mission. I don't think I could survive in the United States. I go back for visits. First time I went back, it was after 18 years. I was intimidated by the whole thing. I mean, you know, so much had changed. Huh? But it took me a while to adjust. But this is where the heart is. Huh? This is where the heart is. It's a question of love. Basically, you fall in love. And that's where your home is.